The great crystal dome of the Celestial Assembly stretched high above thousands of alien delegates, its walls shimmering with the light of distant stars. Today marked the Centennial Review, a ceremony held once every 100 years to assess the progress of civilizations across the galaxy. It was also the day when the assembled powers would mock their greatest failure. Ambassador Veltar of the hegemony moved to the center stage, his forearms spreading wide as holographic displays materialized. Around him, his scaled skin gleamed under the artificial lights, and his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. Behind him, images of a dead gray planet slowly rotated for all to see. Honored delegates, Veltar began, his words translated instantly into 1,000 different languages. We gather today to witness the ultimate cautionary tale. Behold Earth, the world that proves why some species should never reach for the stars. Laughter rippled through the assembly like waves. The Crystalline Confederation delegates clicked their approval while the Void Touched hissed their amusement. Even the normally stoic Silicon Brotherhood allowed their lights to pulse in what passed for their version of mirth. The holographic Earth rotated slowly, showing continent after continent of devastation. Oceans had turned black with pollution, their surfaces covered in thick, oily slicks. Great cities lay in ruins, their towers broken and twisted like the bones of some massive creature. Forests had become wastelands of dead stumps and poisoned soil. The polar ice caps had melted completely, leaving only barren rock behind. 300 years ago, Veltar continued, the humans destroyed their own world through endless warfare and reckless consumption. They poisoned their air, killed their seas, and turned their paradise into this graveyard you see before you. More laughter echoed through the dome. A delegate from the Crimson Empire stood up, her red skin gleaming. Tell us, Ambassador, how many of these failures still survive? Veltar's mouth curved into what might have been a smile on a human face, but looked predatory on his reptilian features. Our latest surveys suggest perhaps 3 million humans remain scattered across a few orbital stations and lunar colonies. They exist in primitive conditions, barely able to maintain their life. Support systems. 3 million, called out someone from the back of the assembly, from a population that once numbered in the billions. What a spectacular collapse. The holographic display shifted to show grainy images of human settlements. Tiny space stations orbited Earth like dead satellites, their hull plating patched and repatched. On the moon, small domed cities sat in crater shadows, their lights dim and flickering. The humans visible in the images looked tired and worn, their faces gaunt with the stress of constant survival. Look at them, Veltar said, zooming in on. A group of humans, working to repair a damaged air recycler. They once dreamed of conquering the galaxy, spoke of spreading their seed among the stars and bringing their chaos to peaceful worlds. Instead, they could not even manage their own home. High Counselor Nathara rose from her throne-like seat, her crystalline body catching and reflecting the light in beautiful patterns. The humans serve as the perfect example of evolutionary failure. They possessed intelligence, yes, but lacked the wisdom to use it properly. They had technology, but turned it toward destruction rather than harmony. Indeed, agreed another delegate. They are a species too violent, too short-sighted, too selfish to deserve a place among the civilized races of the galaxy. The assembly erupted in approval. Thousands of different sounds filled the air as each species expressed their agreement in their own way. The hegemony delegates roared, the Crystal Confederation chimed like bells, and the Void Touched produced a sound like wind through broken glass. Veltar raised his arms for silence. The quarantine around the Sol system remains in effect, as it has for the past 3 centuries. No civilized species shall enter that cursed region. Let the humans face their extinction in isolation, as they deserve. What of their distress? Signals, asked a small delegate from the Outer Rim territories. Some of our deep space monitors still pick up their transmissions. They plead for aid, for medicine, for basic supplies. The question caused a fresh wave of laughter. Veltar's expression grew even more cruel. Let them plead. Perhaps in their final moments, they will understand the true cost of their arrogance. The galaxy is better off without them. High Counselor Nathara stood again, all in favor of maintaining the quarantine and allowing the human problem to resolve itself naturally. Arms, tentacles, claws, and appendages of every description rose. Throughout the assembly, the vote was unanimous, as it had been for the past 3 centuries. Earth would remain forbidden, its dying inhabitants left to face their fate alone. "The matter is settled," Nethera declared. "Let the humans serve as a warning to any species that might follow their path. Let Earth remain a monument to cosmic failure, a reminder that intelligence without wisdom leads only to destruction." The delegates began to disperse, chattering among themselves about more pleasant matters. The holographic display of Earth slowly faded away. In the great crystal dome, no one spared another thought for the distant, dying world and its pitiful survivors. They had dismissed humanity as finished, forgotten, and utterly beneath their notice. It was a mistake that would soon cost them everything. Deep in the asteroid fields between Mars and Jupiter, where no alien probe had ventured for decades, Titan Research Station buzzed with quiet activity. The massive facility carved into the heart of a spinning rock looked abandoned from the outside. Its surface covered with fake debris and sensor-dampening materials. Inside, however, humanity's greatest minds worked on miracles. Dr. Kim and Ho stood before a wall of holographic displays, one showing data streams that would have amazed the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. His fingers danced through the air, manipulating molecular structures that existed only in computer simulations. Before him, a single nanomachine rotated slowly, its surface covered in microscopic tools designed for one purpose: bringing dead worlds back to life. "The atmospheric processors are ready for final testing," he reported to the holographic image of Director Park. Jiho, the older man's face, showed the weight of 3 centuries of careful planning, but his eyes burned with hope. "What about the oceanic restoration systems?" Park asked, his voice carrying across the quantum communication link from the hidden command center on Pluto's moon. "Lee Summon's team has perfected them," Minho replied. "Her bionanites can rebuild an entire ocean ecosystem from scratch. They take dead water and fill it with life in a matter of months." The camera view shifted to show Dr. Lee Soman in her laboratory, surrounded by tanks of swirling, glowing liquid. Inside each tank, millions of microscopic machines worked to create artificial plankton, fish, and sea plants. The nanites could analyze dead organic matter and reconstruct it into living tissue, essentially resurrecting extinct species from their chemical remains. "The power requirements are massive," Salman explained, her voice tired but excited. "But Yoonjisu's fusion cores can handle it. She's created reactors that other species think are impossible to control." Engineer Yoonjisu worked 3 levels below in the station's heart, where massive fusion reactors hummed with barely contained stellar fire. Her breakthrough had come from studying the sun itself, learning how to create stable fusion reactions that could power entire planets. Aliens had deemed such technology too dangerous to develop, but humans had no choice. They needed every advantage they could get. "Captain Choi Dae-yoon's ships are ready for the first phase," Director Park announced during the final council meeting. The assembled leaders of humanity's hidden colonies appeared as holograms around a circular table, faces showing a mixture of hope and determination. Captain Choi stood on the bridge of the starship New Dawn, humanity's first true interstellar vessel. Unlike the clunky transport ships that had carried humans to their hidden colonies, this ship could cross the galaxy in weeks rather than years. Its hull was made from materials that bent light around them, making the ship invisible too. "Alien sensors. We've been testing the stealth systems for months," Choi reported. "The hegemony's patrol ships pass right through our formations without detecting us. As far as they know, we're still trapped in our dying settlements." The irony was not lost on any of them. While the galaxy laughed at humanity's supposed 3 million survivors, the real human population had grown to over 2 billion, hidden in asteroid bases, underground cities, and camouflage space stations. They had spent 3 centuries not just surviving but thriving. Dr. Chen Haun, the colony's chief biologist, had developed plants that could eat radiation and turn it into harmless energy. Her forests could grow in the most poisoned soil, cleaning it as they spread. She had also created new species of bacteria that could break down toxic waste and convert it into fertile earth. The terraforming swarms are ready, she announced. We can restore Earth's surface in less than 5 years. The hardest part will be hiding our work from alien observation satellites. That problem had been solved by communications officer Lim Taiyang, who had learned to hack alien sensor networks. His virus programs could make their scanners show whatever he wanted them to see. While aliens looked at Earth and saw a dead world, humans would be rebuilding paradise right under their noses. The underground cities are ready to open, reported colony administrator Song Hai-jin from the Luna base. We've been preparing for this moment for generations. Our people are ready to return home. The hidden lunar colonies had been humanity's greatest secret. While aliens saw a few struggling dome cities on the moon's surface, vast underground metropolises housed millions of humans in comfort and safety. Similar cities existed on Mars, in the asteroid belt, and in the outer solar system. Each one had been carefully designed to remain invisible to alien sensors. What about the defense systems? Asked Director Park. Commander Han Seok-jin smiled grimly from his position aboard the orbital defense platform. Our weapon systems are 3 generations ahead of anything the aliens have. We've had centuries to study their technology through intercepted transmissions. They've grown soft with peace, while we've grown strong through necessity. The plan was simple but audacious. Humanity would return to Earth and begin the Great Restoration. Using their advanced technology, they would heal their homeworld while keeping their true capabilities hidden from the galaxy. Only when Earth was fully restored would they reveal themselves. 300 years of exile, Director Park said quietly. 300 years of being underestimated and dismissed. It's time to go home. The vote was unanimous. Operation Homecoming would begin immediately, and the galaxy would never see it coming. The first human ships descended through Earth's poisoned atmosphere like silver angels carrying hope. Commander Han Seok-jin stood on the bridge of the flagship New Dawn, watching through the view screen as his homeworld grew larger below them. The planet looked exactly as the aliens expected it to look, dead, gray, and lifeless. What that was about to change? Deploy the atmospheric nanites, Seok-jin ordered. His voice steady, despite the emotion he felt at finally returning home after 3 centuries of exile. Lieutenant Kong Yuna worked at her station, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. Nanite swarms. Release, sir. Beginning. Atmospheric restoration protocols. Billions of microscopic machines spread out from the human ships like invisible clouds. Each nanite was smaller than a grain of dust, but together they possessed the power to rebuild an entire world. They immediately began their work, breaking down toxic gases and rebuilding them into clean, breathable air. Sir, called communications officer Lim Taiyang from his position. I'm detecting hegemony probe signatures at the edge of the system. 3 automated scouts, standard pattern. Activate stealth protocols, Seok-jin commanded. Make sure they see only what we want them to see. The human ships vanished from alien sensors as their cloaking systems engaged. Advanced technology bent light and energy around them, making them completely invisible. The alien probes would record empty space where dozens of human vessels actually worked to restore their homeworld. Below them, Pacific Ocean began to change. Dr. Lee Summon's biorestoration nanites spread through the dead water like living silver, analyzing the chemical composition and beginning their miraculous work. Within hours, the first signs of life appeared. Tiny organisms that glowed with bioluminescent light, followed by larger creatures as the nanites rebuilt entire food chains from the molecular level up. Oceanic restoration is proceeding ahead of schedule, reported Science Officer Park Min-jae. Life signs are appearing in sectors 7 through 12. The nanites are exceeding all projections. On land, the transformation was even more dramatic. Dr. Chen Hein's radiation-eating plants began to sprout across former wastelands, their roots digging deep into poisoned soil and converting deadly toxins into harmless nutrients. These plants had been designed specifically for Earth's restoration. They thrived on radiation that would kill normal vegetation and grew at incredible speeds. Terrestrial biome restoration, at 60% completion in the North American sector, announced environmental specialist Kim Da. The forest networks are establishing themselves faster than our models predicted. The orbital processors that had disguised themselves as space debris for 3 centuries finally revealed their true purpose. These massive machines, hidden in Earth's orbit, activated their full atmospheric cleaning capabilities. They had been working at minimal power for decades to avoid detection. But now they operated at maximum efficiency, scrubbing centuries of pollution from the air. Engineer Yoon Ji-soo monitored the power systems from the New Dawn's engine room. Her revolutionary fusion reactors provided unlimited clean energy for the restoration work. Power output is stable across all systems, she reported. We can maintain this pace for years if necessary. But the most shocking transformation was happening on the surface itself. Hidden beneath Earth's scarred landscape, massive underground cities began to open their sealed doors. These were not the small, struggling settlements that aliens had observed, but vast metropolises that had housed billions of humans for 3 centuries. Underground cities are beginning surface integration, reported Colony Coordinator Song Ha-jin from Luna Base. New Seoul is opening its primary access tunnels. New Tokyo will follow in 6 hours. From the depths of the Earth, millions of humans emerged into sunlight for the first time in their lives. They carried with them the tools and technology needed to rebuild the surface world. Construction nanites began assembling new buildings from raw materials, creating gleaming cities where ruins had stood only days before Captain Choi Dae-yoon commanded the orbital construction platforms that had been hidden behind the moon. Construction. Swarms are operational, he announced. We're beginning surface city construction in 12 primary locations simultaneously. The transformation was happening too fast for alien sensors to fully understand, even if they could have seen through the stealth fields. What had taken nature millions of years to create, human technology was rebuilding in mere months. Dead rivers began to flow with clean water. Poisoned lakes turned crystal clear. Mountains of industrial waste dissolved as specialized nanites converted them into building materials. Sir, Lieutenant Kong Yuna said, excitement creeping into her professional voice. I'm reading massive biosignatures across the entire planet. Forest growth, ocean life, atmospheric improvement, everything is working perfectly. Commander Seo-gin smiled as he watched Earth transform before his eyes. Green was returning to the continents. Blue was returning to the oceans. The gray, dead world that aliens mocked was becoming a paradise more beautiful than it had ever been. Before communications, he ordered, send a message to all human colonies. Operation Homecoming is a complete success. Earth lives again. But even as humanity celebrated their greatest achievement, Seo-chin knew this was only the beginning. The aliens still believed humans were a dying species clinging to survival in a few orbital habitats. They had no idea that Earth was being reborn, or that billions of humans were returning to claim their heritage. The galaxy thought humanity was finished. Soon, they would learn how wrong they had been. Children of Earth were coming home, and they were bringing miracles with them. Admiral Veltar stood on the bridge of his flagship Dominion, staring at the sensor readings that made no sense. His scaled hands gripped the command rail as his 4 eyes focused on the impossible data streaming across his screens, which should have shown nothing but a dead world and a few dying human settlements blazed with energy signatures that defied explanation. Navigator Kethron, he growled at his subordinate, explain these readings. There must be some malfunction in our sensors. The young officer's claws clicked nervously against his control panel. Sir, I have run diagnostics 3 times. The readings are accurate. I am detecting massive energy sources across the entire Earth system. Cities, sir. Hundreds of them. Impossible, Veltar snarled. We have monitored this system for 3 centuries. Earth is dead. The humans are nearly extinct. Show me visual confirmation. The main screen flickered to life, displaying Earth as their long-range cameras saw it. Veltar's blood turned cold in his veins. The gray, lifeless planet he expected to see was gone. Instead, a blue and green jewel hung in space, its continents covered with gleaming cities and vast forests. Oceans sparkled with life, and the atmosphere glowed with the pure light of a healthy world. How? he whispered, his voice barely audible above the bridge's humming electronics. "Sir," called Communications Officer Zefter, "I am detecting billions of human life signs across the planet's surface." "Not millions, sir. Billions." Before Veltar could respond, space around his reconnaissance fleet exploded into chaos. Massive human warships materialized from nothingness, their stealth fields dropping like falling veils. The lead vessel, bearing the name Resilience in glowing human script, dwarfed Veltar's flagship, was easily 3 times the size of anything. In the hegemony fleet, its hull gleaming with armor that seemed to absorb and redirect energy. "All ships, battle stations," Veltar roared. But even as the words left his mouth, he knew it was too late. "Hegemony vessels," came a calm, measured voice over the communication system, speaking in perfect galactic standard. "This is Captain Song Minwoo of the Earth Defense Force. You are trespassing in human space. Power down your weapons and prepare." To be boarded, Veltar's mandibles clicked in fury. "I am Admiral Veltar of the Hegemony. You will surrender immediately or face the consequences." The human captain's response was a soft chuckle that somehow sounded more threatening than any. "Roar. Admiral, you are outnumbered 50 to 1 by ships more advanced than anything your people have ever built. This is your only warning." Veltar looked at his tactical display and felt his heart skip a beat. The human fleet surrounding them was enormous, sleek warships hung in perfect formation, their weapons powered, but not yet firing. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering that made hegemony vessels look like crude toys by comparison. "Fire," Veltar commanded desperately. His ships unleashed their most powerful weapons. Energy beams that could crack asteroids and missiles that could destroy cities. The human ships didn't even try to dodge. The attack struck their shields and simply disappeared, absorbed by defensive systems that turned the energy into harmless light. "Boarding pods launched," announced the human captain with the same calm tone. Veltar watched in horror. Sleek metal pods attached themselves to his ships. His security teams rushed to repel boarders, but their weapons proved useless against human battle armor. The intruders moved through his ship like unstoppable forces, stunning his crew with non-lethal weapons and taking control of critical systems. Within minutes, human soldiers stood on his bridge. They wore armor that seemed to flow like liquid metal, and their faces were hidden behind helmets that glowed with soft blue light. Their leader, a tall woman with sergeant's stripes, gestured politely toward the captain's chair. "Admiral," she said in accented but clear galactic standard, "Captain Song would like to speak with you." The main screen changed to show the bridge of the Resilience. Captain Song Minwoo appeared to be a human in his middle years, wearing a uniform that spoke of military tradition and discipline. His dark eyes held no anger, only a cold certainty that was somehow more frightening than rage. "Admiral Veltar," Song began, "I believe you have some questions." "How?" Veltar gasped, his composure finally breaking. "You were finished. Dead. We saw the reports. Your world was poisoned. Your people scattered and dying. We counted your survivors ourselves." Song smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "You saw exactly what we wanted you to see, Admiral. Those orbital stations you monitored? Or theater, designed to keep you and your kind away while we worked. A few million survivors you counted? They were volunteers who agreed to live in those decoy settlements to maintain the illusion. The underground cities housed our real population," Song continued. "Billions of humans, Admiral. Never abandoned Earth. We simply went underground and waited while our scientists developed the technology to heal our world and surpass yours." Veltar's legs gave out, and he collapsed into his command chair. "Impossible. Our intelligence networks would have detected such populations." "Intelligence networks saw what our hackers wanted them to see," Song replied calmly. "We have been monitoring your communications for centuries, learning your capabilities while hiding our own." The truth struck Veltar like a physical blow. "You let us think we were superior?" "Yes," Song said simply. "And now the game is over." The Celestial Assembly had never been silent before. For 3 centuries, this great hall had echoed with the voices of 1,000 civilizations debating the fate of the galaxy. Today, Only the sound of nervous breathing filled the crystalline dome as every alien delegate stared at the human who stood where their victims once knelt. Director Park Ji-ho walked slowly to the center of the assembly floor, his footsteps echoing. In the deadly quiet, behind him, in energy chains that hummed with power, Admiral Veltar knelt with his head bowed in defeat. The proud hegemony officer who had once mocked humanity now served as a living symbol of how completely the tables had turned. Honor delegates, Park began, his voice carrying easily through the vast space without any need for amplification. Human technology had made even their vocal cords more efficient. 3 centuries ago, you gathered in this very hall to laugh at my species. Holographic displays materialized around him, but these were not the images of destruction that Veltar had once shown. Instead, they revealed the true scope of human achievement. Earth rotated slowly, a blue and green paradise more beautiful than it had ever been. Vast cities of crystal and metal rose from restored continents. Oceans teemed with life that glowed like liquid stars. You called us failures? Park continued, gesturing to the displays. You said we were too violent, too short-sighted, too primitive to deserve a place among civilized species. You quarantined us like a disease and left us to die in isolation. Counselor Nethera, whose crystalline body had once reflected light and beautiful patterns, now seemed dull and gray with fear. She tried to speak, but no words came from her throat. Around the assembly, other delegates shifted nervously in their seats, suddenly aware of how vulnerable they had become. While you laughed, Park said, his voice growing stronger, we were rebuilding. While you dismissed us as extinct, we were growing stronger. While you enjoyed your superiority, we were surpassing every achievement your civilizations had ever made. The holographic displays changed to show human starships, sleek vessels that dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Fleets of them hung in perfect formation around Earth, their weapons powered but not yet firing. Each ship represented technology that was centuries ahead of what the assembled aliens possessed. You want to know what we learned during our exile? Park asked, walking closer to the alien delegates. We learned that necessity drives innovation. We learned that hardship creates strength. We learned that being underestimated is the greatest advantage of all. A small delegate from the Outer Rim territories finally found his courage to speak. What? What do you want from us? Stomped. But it was not a cruel expression like the ones aliens had once worn when discussing humanity. We want what you denied us for 3 centuries? Recognition, respect, and justice. Your homeworlds are dying, Park continued, gesturing to displays that now showed the aliens' own planets. The hegemony's core worlds choked under layers of industrial pollution. The Crystal Confederation's star systems were failing as their suns burned out. The void faced extinction from genetic experiments that had gone wrong. It produces so much toxic waste that your oceans are turning to acid, Park observed clinically. The Crystal Confederation has strip-mined so many worlds that your people face starvation. The void have altered their genetics so many times that you can no longer reproduce naturally. High Counselor Nethera finally found her voice. We need your terraforming technology. Our worlds are dying and only you have the power to save them. The irony was not lost on anyone in the assembly. The same species they had mocked for destroying their homeworld now possessed the only technology that could save the aliens from the same fate. You need our help, Park said simply. The species you declared failures are now your only hope for survival. One by one, the representatives of 1,000 worlds began to rise from their seats. The proud hegemony delegates, the ancient Crystal Confederation. The mysterious void touched all of them slowly, reluctantly, knelt before the human delegation. It was a sight that would have been impossible to imagine just days before. Please, whispered the Crimson Empire's ambassador, her red skin now pale with desperation. Our children are dying. Our worlds are poisoned beyond our ability to heal them. We need your nanites, your biorestoration systems, your atmospheric processors. Park looked down at the sea of kneeling figures and felt the weight of 3 centuries of injustice. His people had suffered in silence while these beings laughed at their pain. Now their positions were reversed. and humanity held the power of life and death over entire civilizations. "We will help you," Park said finally, and the relief that flooded through the assembly was almost visible. "Not because you deserve it, but because we choose to be better than you were to us. But understand this," Park continued, his voice hardening. "The age of human subjugation is over. We're no longer the weak species you can dismiss and ignore. We are the gardeners of the galaxy now, and we will decide which worlds live and which worlds die." The assembled aliens remained kneeling, their heads bowed in acceptance. The species they had once mocked as evolutionary failures now ruled over them all. The laughing had stopped forever. The age of human dominance had begun.